panel Future of Media and Blogging. And today we can talk about predictions and what's going on in this year. And Derek, you should be fast. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Derek Distenfield. I am the co-founder of GSD Venture Studios, along with my partner, Gary Fowler, and we start, grow, and invest mostly in AI and big data startups. Our niches is that we focus on, although we're headquartered in Silicon Valley, we focus on companies outside of Silicon Valley in the far corners of the world, acting like a cross-border venture studio. Prior to that, I ran a storytelling marketing firm called Cult Following, where we built online and offline communities and helped monetize them, and worked in several other startups from $0 to $2 billion, holding senior roles from director of growth to CEO to chief operating officer. And I'm looking forward to being here today and hopefully learning something new as well.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, and our next guest, Vladimir. Yes, the same question. Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, hello. First of all, I would like to thank Manana and Derek for their time and attention. In my opinion, in our modern pandemic world, it's very important to organize such events for knowledge sharing and discussions, which may result in different cases. For example, some integrations or business performance improving. So where I'm from and who I am, my name is Volodymyr Maestrovy. I'm from Kyiv, from Ukraine. I'm a software engineer. And I have some experience in development services for media and marketing. Actually, today we launched our service PR.io.
Is for the PR? For the PR?
PR.io, yeah.
Okay.
So we launched our service on Product Hunt platform.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was a big challenge, but we are product of the day, around 200 upvotes, as I remember. So PR.io is a service that provides you with the ability of customizing your posts in social networks and analyze their efficiency via our statistics, which we provide you. And I will tell some details more later.
Yeah, later. Okay, guys. And my first question: what's going on in media and blogging? What is like new trends during the pandemic? What do you think?
Yep.
Derek. Yeah, let's start with Derek.
No problem.
I mean, one of the things that I think that's going on, I don't see it so much in the pandemic, but I think it's really relevant is, I follow a lot of tech communities around the world, and there's been some challenges right now in Belarus, and the way that I'm following that is in Telegram on Nexta. And one of the things that I think is interesting is in the 1970s, an American author, Hunter S. Thompson, kind of created this kind of journalism called gonzo journalism, where the journalists inject themselves into the stories. And Hunter S. Thompson was doing that in the 1970s in Rolling Stone magazine. And I think what's happening today is you have the journalists and the audience intersecting in real time on a platform like Telegram. And I just think that's incredibly interesting. Although it's kind of been a long time coming, but it's definitely something that I find incredibly relevant to what's going on right now and what we'll continue to see.
Interesting. And how it's look for the brands and for the startups in media.
Well, I think startups are going to have to make some decisions if they're going to be blogs or if they're going to be platforms. I also think there's a lot going on with, because there's so much noise and everyone is blogging. You're seeing a kind of a huge shift to curating content versus producing your own content. And that's not necessarily a new concept. I mean, Drudge Report, I consider him a blogger. I mean, he curates content to tell a story he wants. But I think brands are going to have to decide, are they going to create a platform and allow others to curate content for them? Or are they going to be the curators? And what are the unique ways that they're going to continue to provide content so that they're able to evolve with users? I mean, obviously creating a channel on Telegram would be less relevant in the US compared to other parts of the world, but that could shift very quickly.
Yeah. And Vladimir, the same question. What do you think?
I can totally recommend for each media or blog or site is to try or to use something like silver bullet, you know. In my opinion, is paywalls. For example, in Ukrainian media, we have a lot of really interesting, honest, and high quality media that could be monetized through paid subscriptions. And but our market, unfortunately, is not ready for this yet. But I do think that maybe after 5 years, this may change.
Yeah, but during the pandemic, what's going on in Europe, and why you wanna actually go to the blogging? What is the difference between the content promotion and content distribution, and what's you want like to bring to the content creators? Why you running this this application and this tool?
We want to solve one big problem for media, but also, of course, it depends of media domain or specific. In some cases, there are a bit efficiency for microblogging, but for example, some SMB, smart business, which could be provided via media, it can be more efficient via some blogs or content distribution platforms.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and next question. If we talk about future of media and blogging, what is the next big thing on the technology side? Beyond like the maybe next 10 or 15 years? Maybe artificial intelligence, maybe VR and AR, maybe something new, but new opportunities for the investors as well. Derek, what do you think?
Well, I think that we're clearly moving towards a world of hyper-personalization. And I think the word author is going to become rather interesting and could possibly disappear, or at least the definition of an author will change. I do think the incumbent brands will stick around for a long time as long as they can continue to maintain trust. But how content is produced, I think will change drastically. And what I mean by that is whoever the quote unquote author is will provide content that's personalized for the reader, and not just time of day or subject, but down to the words they're going to read it, whether it's a microblog, short form, or long form content. All that is already known today and really can be customized and delivered to a reader the way they want to read it. I mean, Grammarly knows how we all write, Google knows how we all read, and knows our preferences. It's just a matter of creating the ubiquity and quite frankly, the legislation and the initiative from readers to deliver all this. And I really do think that that's how it's going. And to lay the point home, I think all three of us could be reading a blog by a brand by the same author, but read it in three different formats while we're doing it. And I definitely think that's the way it's going. I think the second thing, and perhaps a shorter term, what Premier brought up is the paid media and finding ways to charge, like what Substack has done in the last, 12 months. And, I think that's been incredibly interesting to watch. And, they've really been one of the first brands to kind of crack the nut on charging. And that's incredible.
Yes, actually, I'm totally agree about this. Vladimir, what do you think? What is the next big thing in media on the technology side?
Totally agree with Derek, but if we want to see what will be mostly effective in the near or long-term future, let's see what we have today. For example, big data, AI, or ML are already actively used for generation or optimizing texts, monotony or emotional analyzing. So these technologies will only grow for investors, for requirements, everything. But one more case for me, mostly in some cases are funny, and it's virtual or extended reality. This vector is also interesting for me and for investor, in my opinion. For example, it would be so cool if we will have some ability to attend the wedding of the royal family in real time, for example. So, in my opinion, VR and XR, it's second phase of the next media improvement.
Really interesting. And what is the next level of personalization in media? Like if we talk about privacy, Derek, what's going on in privacy?
Well, it depends who you ask and which stakeholder is concerned. I think as it relates to privacy, and I don't know if this is the exact answer, but I do think that the fake news kind of pandemic or the fake news going on is going to have to be solved. And I was working with a company that was connecting video onto the blockchain, so it was impossible to so you would always know if it had been edited or not. And I think that's an interesting technology, and I think there's got to be some other things built to determine when a video of a police officer, for example, doing something is a complete video or when it's been edited. And that's not necessarily privacy, but I think it's a huge challenge that somebody has got to take on. And I know there's different forms already happening, but I'd like to see it at a little greater pace, to be quite frank.
Thank you. And Vladimir, what's going on with privacy and monetization model personalization on your product?
In our product, in PR.io?
Yeah.
Mostly we provide you to improve your efficiency with creating some amazing previews in social media, because if the content is not high quality, it won't be consumed. So a problem of quality, the main function in our service. With our service, you are able to customize your previews with different images, texts, descriptions, and measure their efficiency, provide ABC testing, and etc. So this is short description about our service.
Okay, and what is like your prediction? How it could be in next 2-3 years on the personalization side?
Each of us needs to have perfect posts, perfect advertising, and it is necessary for each media. And we know that 2 or 3 years ago, Facebook permit preview customizing for your links or posts which you create, and our solution is what I said, silver bullet for this problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and my next question, what is a microblogging in this year? How
I was just going to say, in layman's terms, microblogging is the opportunity for a brand or an influencer to establish authenticity. And so, blogs can have several forms, but I think what the microblog is, it's the conversation between you and your audience in an informal way that allows you to gain that credibility with your audience and that real authenticity. And that's where you see threads on Twitter and other places. Those are essentially just conversations that lead to that real connection. They usually have to be supported by some longer piece of content that validates the authenticity that they're created or utilizes it and brings it into their community.
But the fake news, it's a real problem for the brands. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
Or we can without the blockchain, for example.
No, I mean, look, the internet is designed to get people to click, and people are going to continue to click when they see something that is interesting, whether it's real or not. And I also think that fake news is not a new phenomenon. I mean, when I was growing up, it was People Magazine and the National Enquirer. It was just trash news that people would read, sometimes for fun, and sometimes people took it more seriously than perhaps they should. I just think everything now is so hyper inflated, and there's so many different directions going on. I think somebody is going to have to figure out how to filter the noise. And, as I was saying earlier, that's where I kind of think that we're going to go towards curation versus being an author. And you're going to know that this person curates the content that you want to read, whether it be fake or real or indifferent. So that's what I see.
And Vladimir, it's same question. What do you think? What is the future of microblogging, and how you can help? Can help brands and bloggers, and what is the next steps for the fake news?
Unfortunately, I'm not an expert in microblogging, but I can suppose that microblogging became more easily and the popularity are grown mostly. And the people learned how to earn money. For example, it could be some volunteerism for branding populations or something like this. And the case of spam,
maybe like the spammers.
Spammers, yeah, it's a big problem, and by another hand, it's a real problem to separate what news are fake or not. I know that Facebook or Twitter tried to create their own solution for fake detections, and this is really big problem with this, and they stop it, as I understand, and just create a team around 4,000 or 5,000 of people which need to find sources of a news. So this is one way to prevent some fake news.
Yeah, because right now it's really important.
Sure.
In US, for example. And it's a really great question because 10 years ago, it was really, really funny time for the business models. For example, share economy. And what's going on with new business models in media?
Well, we spoke about.
Because
yeah,
look,
I mentioned that.
10 years ago, it was really like funny time for the startups like Pinterest, like startups in share economy too, and news media, and Twitter actually too was founded in this year. Yeah, and when I know like a lot of investors, they're looking for new business models in media.
I was just going to say that we've spoken kind of about the paid media, and I think that's a big deal. I think figuring out the platform and the curation is another idea. But what I also think is interesting is when GDPR passed and CCPA passed, companies spent, it kind of delayed things by almost a year. And really all it did is it made smart guys, not guys like me, but the hackers and the engineers work for an extra 6 months to figure out how to actually target people the way they want to target them and compliant with the law. And I think we're just now starting to see some interesting companies come up. But I mean, the reality is that legislators have the best intentions, but engineers are always going to be able to come up with new codes and new ways to personalize things faster than legislators can write specific laws. And I think we've seen a lot of that with GDPR, and we were told that the whole world is going to die and social media will never exist because of this. And it was a legitimate technical challenge when you talk to engineers, but I've also never met an engineer that doesn't enjoy those challenges. And they usually, if they're incentivized properly, will get after it and solve it. And I think the trend right now is, how do you be compliant? And how do you provide personalization when we all know it's growing towards that? And it does require an extra layer that does take greater investment and greater time, and that's frustrating, I think, for most people in tech, because entrepreneurs want to just build things, and investors don't really like investing in things where their money's going towards regulatory things, not pure product enjoyment. And so I'm interested to see in the next 6, 12, 18 months on what's really going to come out that's going to be GDPR, CCPA compliant, that is going to be personalized blogs from brands, from authors, directly to the readers. And I think there's a lot there that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Thank you. No, it's so like the powerful piece. Okay, and same question for the Vladimir. What do you think?
As a software engineer, I'm totally agree with Derek, because I have some challenges with GDPR. In case of personalization via push notifications. So we are trying, and we currently try to improve personalization in push notification, in right push, in white push notification systems, not spam. And in my opinion, this free sphere now currently, and there are a lot of opportunities for improving it. But one of the mostly strongly rule who can be dangerous for this solution is GDPR, and there could be new laws or rules in Europe, in USA, etc. And but mostly we, as a people, as a reader, as a content consumer, I need to have that content which I like. So in each sphere, we need smart personalization systems.
Mm-hmm. And guys, let's talk about TikTok generation. What's going on with, sometimes it's called it like the Robin Hood generation, and how we can support to the creators from this target audience. What do you think, Derek? It's like you
The thing that I want to say about TikTok is,
no, this is, it's so like important right now.
no, it absolutely is. And what I think sometimes gets glossed over is every single social media platform that's in existence today has started out just for kids. And then it seems to migrate up the chain in maturity wise. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm most kind of watching, and I don't exactly know how it's going to happen or when, but how TikTok starts to move up the generational chain, and we'll all be TikTok users. And what that means is that the content most likely will start changing towards a more mature audience and won't be just, funny dance songs and karaoke and, whatever else is on now. But, I'm kind of looking for, who is that influencer person and brands that are going to start pushing it up into a more mature audience, because I do think it will happen. And I don't know if it's, a guy like Gary Vaynerchuk or who it is, but I think it's going to happen, and I'm excited to watch it. I like TikTok. I go on and for
Yeah,
fun. I think that it will become a more useful utility. I mean, they certainly have the data to figure it out, and it'll be interesting to watch.
yeah, and YouTube actually running right now shorts, like the small videos. Yeah, let's see. But
It's funny that Quibi spent
yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
that money and all that supposed brain power on a platform that has really failed, and then you have TikTok, which has really taken off, and that's also been interesting to watch too.
Yeah, and main question, because it's all about entrepreneurship, like the solo entrepreneurs, like small creators who running, I don't know, like the influence agencies in Los Angeles, in New York City, and I'm so excited because it's look like really like like the new generation, and maybe something like coming after the like a pandemic. Vladimir, what do you think? What you
Oh,
do in this side?
I believe that TikTok is a new Instagram where influencers can spread or provide their content or information via video stream, via video. But there are some problems with TikTok. We know some problem in USA with Donald Trump, and mostly TikTok needs to create some validation or censorship. So there are some good cases and bad.
For the brand or for the influencers?
For the influencers, sure.
Wow. What do you mean?
Adult content, for example,
Okay.
from children and something like this, who is permitted for our culture.
Yeah, fake news too, and deep fake, yeah?
Yeah, sure. Deep fake, it's
Yeah. And actually, like, my question was about your product. Maybe you can share your future roadmap, your futures.
yep, sure.
What you to do for the younger bloggers, and for the guys who wanna stay in short videos. How we can support with like brand connections, and plus, yeah, and let's talk about deep fake technologies.
Okay, I have some example for it. For example,
Yeah.
let's imagine that Manana wants to share me some TikTok video via link in, for example, Telegram Messenger. So Telegram only render text of HTTPS and TikTok and blah blah blah. So I haven't some context of the video. I know that this is TikTok platform, and after redirect, I will see some video, but I haven't the context. I haven't the description or some picture. So we provide you an instrument which you can enrich your TikTok video link with some extra information, with image, with text and description. So as for me, this is really efficient way which can introduce some knowledge before you go to the link. And about some backlog, we have a really big backlog. It's a really big challenge to release our most required features for production, and it would be some cases with UTM management, with multi-access, with REST API, with advanced comparison of analytics, for example, to provide more easily way to create some ABC tests. And what else? Improvements in preview builder, some image modifications, support new messengers like WhatsApp, WeChat, and etc. And we will try to release these features as soon as it's possible. We can't hear you.
Yeah, and like how it work on the brand side, or like agencies, influence agencies.
In future, we will have some subscriptions for agencies. When some agency can create some teams or some separate accounts. And for example, one of the most killer feature for me is to real-time smart real-time statistics sharing. For example, you're a media agency and you want to share the stats of some advertising or some posts for your customer. And mostly it looks like Excel or CSV files when you can send it via some messengers or Google Drive, for example. Let's imagine you are able to send only one link where will be some informations without any security or with security. It depends of some cases. And this link would real time changed from your activity of your posts.
Okay. Derek, what do you think? And please share like your strategy on the storytelling side. Why it's so important right now?
Well, I think the story is important.
Yeah, because storytelling, it's like it's not like a trendy right now, but it's like a number one thing for the startups and for the bloggers as well, and it's so complicated.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I tell startups, especially engineer-heavy startups, is nobody cares what you do; they care how you can help them. And I think the kind of second thesis is that people love authenticity, and they love to feel like a brand, that they are part of a community and the brand is part of them. I mean, Airbnb has done that really well. Slack has done that. But I mean, really most famously, Nike and Apple have done that. Now, Nike and Apple are much older companies than many brands we're talking about today are, and they use traditional media to tell that story. But today, an athlete doesn't tell a story by being in a commercial the way Michael Jordan famously did with Nike. Yeah. Today, an athlete tells a story by microblogging on Twitter and really does the unscalable things. I think, and what I mean by that is the way that you really create authenticity is you do things that don't scale, like when Taylor Swift goes on the prom date with the one fan that asks her. I mean, that's an unscalable process or idea that she does, and others do, but doing that, something that is so unscalable or so hard, it creates an authenticity that fans love. And there's other examples of that too. So I think finding ways to strategically communicate with your audience in a way that doesn't scale is how you could really catapult your message at scale. And maybe I talk myself a little bit in circles, but I mean, that's what I think is important is.
What is your like the best example for the amazing storytelling if they talk about startups? For example, I don't know, Ethereum.
Well, I mean, Ethereum is a good one, but I think, there's different ways to tell stories and there's different ways to create a community. Yeah. I think the big community right now that is taking off, although not in numbers, but in hype, is Clubhouse. And I think it's incredibly interesting to watch. And I mean, they took the classic playbook that, comes up once every couple of years. I mean, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it was Superhuman with email. And Clubhouse really just did the exact same thing. They made it very exclusive, very hard to get into. They got the right influencers in the Valley using it and talking about it and microblogging on tweeting about it. And now everyone wants to go to Clubhouse, even though they don't know what it is. And it's essentially just having a conversation in front of the whole world, and which is so contradictory for people that are worried about privacy. But I think that is a good way where they've used that nightclub with the red rope approach to create buzz, and also the people that are in there feel like a level of connectiveness. It's like, oh, you're in Clubhouse. Oh, a friend of mine is he works in venture capital, and he's got a clubhouse event, and he, showed me the banner and was really excited. And, he was hoping that because he has the event, maybe his invite will get accepted. And so, I mean, I think that part of the story is super interesting, but then it's coupled with an interesting product, because they're not really the first product to try this kind of verbal social media platform. It's not new. I don't know how many social media companies there have been that have the word talk in it. I mean, there's a lot. If you just Google social media and talk, and all of them have had something similar and they've failed. So it will be interesting to see what comes of this.
Interesting. And what do you think? What is your favorite blogger right now? What do you think about podcasting? This is so popular in US.
I mean, yeah.
No, it's independent. Of course, it's independent of the style. For example, Joe Rogan. It's like the interviews. He's actually blogger as well.
I think
he sold his library to the. It's amazing, like the price for his library, his interviews.
Look, I think podcasts still have that era of craft beer rawness in the United States where you feel like it's a real conversation. I would say that most people that listen to Joe Rogan probably think they know the kind of guy he is. He smokes the pot with Elon Musk, and, I mean, what a brilliant move, just creating this different story. And, I personally remember when podcasts first came out, and I listened to them like crazy, and I burnt myself out. We see if the rest of the American people will burn themselves out on them. I'd be curious to know what the average amount of time actually listened to on podcasts. I mean, are people listening 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes or
yeah, exactly.
2 minutes? I don't know. I would guess it's closer to 2 minutes than 30, but that's just a hypothesis.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's independent of the platform. What do you want to use? And like maybe mobile or maybe desktops.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think, I'm still a boring older guy. So, I mean, I read one of my favorite blogs is Fred Wilson. He's a venture capitalist, and why I think it's so good is because he blogs every single day, 7 days a week for the last 10 years. He has not missed a day.
Wow.
And that's an incredible relationship with his audience. I think he has an audience of 10 million, and I think he has about a 70% open rate. I mean, it's
like a job for the investor.
I mean, it's a great thing, and it creates a great relationship, a great funnel of business and deal flow and influence in an industry. And, I believe that I know Fred Wilson. I've only met him one time, but, I read his blog every day, and I believe I have that connection with him. He's actually, and you know what? The other thing is, this is a guy that gets, 7 million opens a day, and I probably responded 3 or 4 times because it comes via email too. And I've responded 3 or 4 times to his email, and he's responded every time. And that's an action and I'm not important. And it's just an action that doesn't scale, but he understands the value of doing those little things to really keep up the relationship with your readers. And so, I really like what he does.
It's a great example. Okay, and what is in your prediction? What is like the future for the media, like Wall Street Journal or maybe Forbes?
Well, if they can survive, assuming they can survive the current state, and assuming they're here in a year, you think there's value in the brand of the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and the Washington Post. I do not think those brands are going to outright disappear. As long as they can continue to invest in trust and tackle some of the issues that you're bringing up. And I think they will. But I do think the writing and the consumption and what is actually a reporter versus a participant and a reader, I think those lines are going to get closer and closer together. And, technology disrupted almost every single entertainment medium. And I think there's going to be a big disruption in what it means to be a news reporter, because I think we're all news reporters.
Yes.
And, I think that, Visa and MasterCard have a great business model. They don't really do anything. They just validate the transactions and validate trust. And I think if the brands can develop something where they're validating the trust, we're all reporters and we're all part of the story. And I think that's what you're going to see. And they're just going to curate trust and from us all. And what we as individuals aren't delivering to these brands, there's going to be artificial intelligence that will do it for them. So I think that will be, what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Vladimir, what do you think?
Could you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
What is your favorite blogger? What is your favorite maybe podcast, maybe media, and what's going on? What should be in future for the Wall Street Journal, or like Forbes or TechCrunch?
Okay, I see. I do like some sports or auto bloggers, and this is really interesting for me. I can read or see some video during a really long time when I'm free. But mostly, as for me, the most efficient, useful is podcasts, and do like to listen some podcasts during to my job, with some podcasts about some space technologies or SpaceX or NASA, and what else? About Wall Street Journal, actually, I have no idea.
One special tools for the bloggers. Yeah, and send please for us a link. What's going on Product Hunt?
Yep. Okay. I'll try.
Yeah, actually, like in my opinion, Wall Street Journal, it's look like the microblogging, because they have a lot of really smart, like media guys and contributors, and they use the Twitter as well. Yeah, and your tools actually really helpful for the connection with brands and how we can support to the bloggers and media. Send for us this link. Yeah, what do you think about like a conservative media and TV channels, like old-fashioned broadcasting? What is the next?
Well, I mean, I still think it's interesting. I still love the story of Drudge Report from so many different facets. I mean, when you're talking top 5 most viewed websites on the internet that spent no time on UX, no time essentially on product. I mean, his product is the curation. And, I think that it's been, widely successful by any stretch of the imagination. And, I think that there is something there. And you don't have to agree with it, but from the idea that you should let your users tell you what you should build and how you should do it. I mean, that is one of the best stories ever. I think it's, it's up there with Craigslist on, how you should launch a product and when you should launch it. And I think, clearly his audience does not need the Vox type media experience, which is a completely different audience, obviously, and a completely different UX. But
Yeah,
I think that people are going to flock to brands that they trust, and Drudge Report has developed a brand with conservatives that people trust, and they accept that curation. So if brands want to focus on conservative media, there's obviously a market to do that, and that's going to be the choice they make. You're muted.
What do you think the most important for the investors? Maybe you give them some advices for the venture capital firms or business angels who want to support media technology.
Well, I think
or maybe what is the best, like a short-term strategy for the investors? Because, for example, actually, guys from this platform, like the Restream, they invest more than $50 million in streaming right now. Yeah, and I'm so excited.
That's great.
Investors want to be with gaming and entertainment and media. It's so like the happy right now. Maybe in short strategy. Look at industry like event marketing.
I think that when the gold rush happened in California in 1940s, the people that built shovels and sold shovels probably made more money on average than people that were coming for the gold. And, I think from like an investor standpoint, there's still this notion that building platforms is probably where the idea is, and it's figuring out what the next platform is. And, that's why Clubhouse was able to get the most investment. I would say that the most exciting stuff happening on social media right now is in closed messaging groups. And I think that's a little hard to penetrate, but I think it's those closed Slack channels with the director of growth from the top 20 VC firms, if you're interested, or top 20 Silicon Valley firms, if you're interested in growth. I mean, it's the WhatsApp channels that have, engineers from all around the world that are collaborating with just amongst themselves. I think that there's just a lot going on in these kind of closed channels. And I think if investors could penetrate them and kind of see what's going on, I think that there's products that can come out of that. So, I mean, that's what I think is really cool.
And what is your advice for the media startups? How they can survive during the pandemic?
Well, I mean, media startups are no different than any other startup. I mean, they need to listen to their customers and listen to their users. And if their solution doesn't fall into the top 3 problems that a user has, then they need to change and pivot. So they're providing for that solution. Or they need to retell the story, how it fits into the top 3 problems that their users have. And if they're not doing that, or if they haven't done it already, they're probably too late.
And plus, they talk about storytelling and community.
Yeah, I mean, one of our portfolio companies, for example, does they do digital signage with facial recognition analytics for retail stores. And they have 15 analytics on digital signs that they can do customized real-time shopping experiences. And it's an incredible company. They're taking off prior to the pandemic. Then the pandemic happens, and hey, you know what? We talked to customers, and we learned that this is great, but it's not one of our top 3 concerns right now. And we asked, what is top 3 concerns? And they said COVID, COVID, and COVID. And so what we've done with the software is we've incorporated thermal recognition, and now it could be digital signage that provides real-time policy announcement, but also fulfilling the policy. So it will notify someone if they don't have a mask on, and the display will say, please put your mask on. It will notify people about social distancing. And, you know, it's something that pivots a little bit, so it's their concerns, and it allows them to continue to get meetings, but also sell the whole platform, which is ultimately what they want to do. And so I think if you're not tweaking your story or listening to what your customers' top 3 initiatives are, then you're not in the right spot.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and Vladimir, what is your special advice for the startups on media side, how they can survive? Maybe on technology, because because your example, they've product hunt. It's I think it's look like the really nice for the new adapters.
Yep.
And what going on with your pilot?
Yep, sure. It's totally true. Product Hunt and some similar platforms can provide you a big feedback. And after that, you are able to pivot your product or to make some difference to create new features, etc. And I can recommend only to find out new monetization ways. It's simply way when each domain can survive.
But this is great idea for the creators as well. They can check your technology, and it's all about your customers. You can get the feedback and go to the cash flow business. This is really important for the startups.
Yeah, but it's a really tricky topic.
Okay, guys, thank you actually for this 60 minutes. Yeah, it was great conversation. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Stay safe.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.